Everyone, Django Fett here. So I didn't do a video on release of the Switch 2 news right away because I wanted to give it some time. Wanted to be a little bit more responsible when it came to this because I was just going to do one video on this. But the Switch 2, the live stream came out. There were definitely some questions. It definitely answered some questions, but it also didn't answer a lot at the same time. It looks great. I will say that, and I will get into that a little bit. But there's also a lot of problems when it comes to the pricing with this with the Switch 2. So we'll get into that. I will just be focusing on this Tom's Guide article right here, and then we'll go into the specs right here, which is pretty interesting too. So we're gonna go down here in a little bit. So it started off with Mario World. That was a big thing. A Mario Kart World that looked really good. There are issues with that, but it looks amazing. I'm excited for it. It comes with the bundle for the Switch 2, and I think it keeps reloading because they're doing some live thing or whatever. But they did have a treehouse thing, which released some new things. But they did a treehouse, and I was actually looking at like 10 minutes of it, and pretty much everyone was spamming stop the price hike, for the Switch 2. And people were constantly spamming that. And just to get Nintendo's attention, because like this is unrealistic. So we'll get into that in a little bit, the pricing, but we'll go into this one by one when it comes to that. So I'm just going to be scrolling down for this. So Mario Kart World, that was the biggest thing, the first thing that was announced. And the next thing was game chat. So it adds voice chat, screen sharing, which was pretty cool. Like really choppy frame rate when it comes to screen sharing, but you could actually put yourself in the background. But you had to have a camera, like a special Nintendo Switch camera. I don't know if you could have an external camera for that too, but it seemed expensive. Like I know it would be an expensive item. I don't know the price. Maybe somebody else can share that. But I knew there was going to be something where they're going to be doing price hikes for this. The Switch 2 games that make us want to pre-order. So all 22 games coming to Switch. So that's the biggest one, Mario Kart World, and there's also Donkey Kong, Banana Bonanza. Yeah, that was another one. That one I am super excited for. That's my most anticipated for the Switch 2, and that's going to be releasing at $70, which even that price, it's still a lot for me. I'm still not used to the 70 price hike. But there's also an additional price hike for the Mario Kart game, which is going to be $80, which is insane as it is too. However, the game prices is going to be even more because there's going to be the tariffs, and that's going to be a huge factor for not only the console but also the games too. So that's also two things. So it's not just the console, but it's also the games, and people are forgetting about that. So that's going to be a huge thing for that. So we'll get into that for sure. Yeah. So the screens, yeah, screen sharing. It seems cool, but there's going to be problems with it. Switch 2 system has a 77.9-inch screen, and it is 1080p screen with 120 frames 120 frames per second support, undocked, and with HDR support. Magnetic controllers, you can actually use them as a mouse, which is different. Is it going to solve the drift with the controller with the original Switch? Who knows? So hopefully that's not an issue again. And here's some more things right here. Switch 2. So pre-orders were originally supposed to be April 9th. That has been delayed because of the whole price switching, because the price is actually going to be $449, which the original Switch was $300, I think. And that's with the controller. This is going to be the bundle, which is going to be $500. It's going to be the Switch 2, the controller, and the game Mario Kart World. So it's actually cheaper that way, but still kind of expensive. So I can definitely see where people have an issue with that. For me, I'm kind of 50-50 with it, but it's actually going to get worse because then there's going to be tax as well as the tariffs. And so you're going to be looking at like what, 600 something dollars, US easily. And that could even jump even further. So who knows? It's not been confirmed, but it's going to get crazy. So Yeah, the pricing is the big issue right now, and people have a lot of problems with it. So if they actually release this Switch 2 news, like this live stream and stuff, after the tariffs, way after the tariffs, and actually gave definite pricing for the Switch 2 and the games, there would be less issues, I would think, because people would have gotten used to the tariffs after like a year or something like that. But even then, it's like it's hard to get used to that bullshit with the tariffs. But it's $450 to $500 for that. It's still quite a bit. In Australian, I just don't know how you guys deal with it. In Brazil, the pricing is just insane. I'm sure in other countries it's also pretty bad too, but it's just like it's crazy. I just don't understand that. So it comes with a custom NVIDIA chipset, 256 gigabytes of storage, which is a lot more than the original Switch. It was like nothing on the original Switch. And then you can get an external, you know, storage as well, which I'm definitely going to do. Display 7.9 inch, 1080p, LCD. I wish it was LED. VRR 120 hertz, which is pretty nice. Max resolution, which I think is pretty interesting, is 4K docked mode, and that's going to be actually 60 frames per second. So it's not going to be 120 frames like the undocked version, which is kind of weird. I don't really understand that, but they're having 120 frames at 1080p or 2K resolution when it's undocked, which is interesting. So it's going to be variable resolutions, and the frame rate. I don't believe that this is going to happen. That it's going to be the frame rate for every single Switch 2 game, where it's going to have 60 frames per second or 120 frames. I just don't see that happening. I'd love to be wrong, but you know, this is the console, so they're much more limited in that aspect than compared to, you know, something like the PC, for instance. But who knows? But I just don't see that happening for every single Switch 2 game. I just can't. But I'd love to be wrong. But ports to USB-Cs, so on the top and the bottom, which is pretty nice. The size, the weight is 1.18 pounds with Joy-Cons, and battery life is 2 to 6.5 hours. So that's not too bad. Yeah, that's fine. The design, it's much bigger than the original Switch. So that's fine. Yeah, surprisingly, the Switch 2 does not have an OLED display. That was just really weird to me. You would think it's LCD, you know, you would think they would upgrade that too, because they did have a Switch Pro version or whatever that did have OLED, and I've heard nothing but good things from that. But for some reason, this one doesn't have that, which is really weird. The Switch OLED is powered by a custom. The Switch 2 is also powered by a custom NVIDIA chipset. Has kept the details quiet as of now. Simply states the improved CPU and GPU will allow for faster processing speed and new visually advanced gameplay in the Switch 2, as well as 4K playback when it docks. So the dock will have a fan, which will help cool the system itself, which is actually pretty cool, which is nice to see. So let's go to size and weight. Is noticeably bigger, and they actually clip in the Joy-Cons. They don't have to actually slide them out, which is pretty annoying. And I have noticed where the Switch controllers just don't connect properly. I've had that problem so many times as of late, and so hopefully they fix that issue here where it just connects like that and there's no issues. But I have had lots of issues as of late where the Joy-Cons are just like, I'm playing, and then the Joy-Cons are just like, it's not working properly or something. So I've had to unclick and then click them back in. Hate that. It's annoying. Switch OLEDs offers from 4.5 to 9 hours of gameplay, and the Switch 2 will house a 5,220 milliamp battery. This should offer anywhere from 2.5 to 6.5 hours of battery life. So 4.5 to 9, 2.5. Okay, so depending on the games you're playing, but okay, so that's a problem too, where this OLED Switch has having 4.5 to 9 hours of gameplay, and this is 2.5. So that's another issue. I'm just like, what the hell? You know, you would think that would also be increased as well, or somewhat the same, but the fact that it's much lower, that's also not good. So what the hell? What the hell, Nintendo? For all the upgrades, the battery life is pretty important, and you're fucking up on that. Like, just, that's not good. It'll come with 256 gigabytes of onboard storage. You can also expand it to micro SD, which is fine. But bad news is that those standard micro SD cards from previous consoles won't work on the Switch 2. So you can't just transfer your games from the Switch 1 with your digital games to there. Really baffling. Another bad thing. I don't understand these downgrades for this. It's really odd. I mean, there's a lot of upgrades, but there's also a lot of downgrades with this. So I just don't really understand that. New Joy-Cons are larger than the original, and they attach to the console via magnets. They can also be used as mice, which is interesting. So you can play like games like Civilization, actually, which is actually pretty interesting. Force connectivity, we just talked about that. Switch 2 accessories like the Switch 2 camera, $49, which lets you appear on camera during the game chat. And pre-orders, that has been, delayed, so that's not happening for April 9th. The launch date, I think, is still happening for June 5th. However, that has been delayed, the pre-order dates. So, yeah, something's wrong with that. So we will scroll down here. Let's see. Mario has officially come to an end. And they did a first look of Mario Kart World, Street Fighter 6, Donkey Kong Bonanza. I wish I saw that, but I didn't get a chance. That's coming out July 17th. Yeah, Mario Kart World is priced for $80. Yeah, but even then, that's probably not even the right price. Who knows? But that's also $80, and then you don't even factor in the tax, and then the tariff tax. Who knows what that's gonna happen with that? Everything's gonna be crazy in the U.S. Yeah, it's just not gonna be good. Mario Kart World of Chaos. Angry calls to drop the price, Plague. Live stream, yeah, that was the big thing right there. Throughout the live stream that I noticed, I was like watching it for like 10 minutes. This was happening all the time. Like, this was just, oh my god. Steady stream of comments pleading with Nintendo to drop the price of the Switch 2 and its games has accompanied every title featured thus far, and it shows no signs of slowing down. The console itself will launch at $449, $100 more than even the souped-up Switch OLED, which is interesting. But I didn't even know. Okay, but what has gamers more in arms is the price of the games. Some select flagships Nintendo Switch 2 games like Mario Kart World will jump up to $80, a $20 price hike, which is insane. So they're starting it with Mario Kart World. Donkey Kong is not going to have that. Who knows? But I mean, the fact that they're doing this now, like we just got a $70 price hike, and even then it was just way too much. And now you're doing $80 now after so soon from $70. Like $70 was just like a year or two ago. Like it's insane. And now you're doing this shit. Like fuck you. Like screw you, Nintendo, you greedy bastards. Like just what the fuck. I'm not gonna be talking about this stuff. Yeah, Nintendo Switch is a true crisis of moment for Nintendo. And who knows? I have no idea how people will respond. Nintendo fans will eat it up, or will they reject this? Who knows? Nintendo fans will eat up anything, but this I don't know. Like, people will be able to afford it, especially with the tariffs now. Things are going to be insane. Like, God, man, I cannot just emphasize that enough. It's going to be really bad. I mean, if you're not in the U.S., then you have less of this issue, but still, like, this is pretty bad, and their sales are going to be affected dramatically from this. So, but it does feel like a true crisis of moment for Nintendo. So some people are... So yeah, there's a couple of other things I want to mention. I'm just going to mention it from the actual live stream itself. So here's a problem I have too, is that they're going to have Switch 1 games to Switch 2, and they're going to have this feature where they're going to have like some of the Zelda games, increased resolution and frame rates from the previous Breath of the Wild and the I forget the other game, Breath of the Wild, and I'm blanking on the other game, but you know what I mean. But you have to pay upgrade packs to transfer those games for increased resolutions and frame rates. Yeah, that I already hated that right away. Apparently it's going to be $10, but it could be like $20. I wouldn't be surprised if it's $30 because it's fucking Nintendo. They're greedy bastards, so who knows? But yeah, that's just not a good sign for that. So there's increased resolutions and frame rates for the Zelda games and a couple of other games on the Switch one. But it's also here's another thing is that apparently I heard this from Digital Foundry that apparently 114 or 140 games are not going to be compatible from the Switch 1 to Switch 2. That's just not going to happen. So the fact that they're doing this, that they're not going to be able to, I mean, other consoles have had this issue too, where it's just like to have this issue consistently happening now, where it's just like you can't even get backwards compatibility anymore is ridiculous to me. Like you can't even play Switch 1 games to Switch 2. Not every single Switch 1 game to Switch 2. That's the expectation we have as customers. And the fact that it doesn't happen is baffling. I know the Xbox and the PlayStation, they've done the same thing too. But you would like this is not a right thing for this to happen, you know? This is something that we should be complaining about and arguing against, like, because game preservation, we're all about that. But the fact that these guys don't respect it, we should be calling this shit out all the fucking time. So, it's not cool in my... Yeah, I just fucking hate it. Metroid Prime 4 looks great. I wish there was, like, more gameplay for that. They just, like, did a really small thing from it. But apparently it's going to be 4K at 60 frames per second in HDR. I think there was a couple of other things for that one, but I'll show that here. But it looks great. I'm excited for that. I'm surprised there's no Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remaster at this point. There was only Metroid Prime 1. But I would love a 2 and 3 down the road. I mean, it only makes the most sense. I mean, if you haven't played 2 and 3 like myself, make remasters of it. I would definitely buy it and play it for sure. Elden Ring, Hades 2, Street Fighter 6, Split Fiction, yada yada yada. New game was Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment coming this winter. Nintendo Switch 2 expansion pass will have GameCube games like Wind Waker, which I'm excited for. Soul Calibur 2 with Zelda, which is really interesting to me because that's the version that I got back in the day, the GameCube version, to play as not Zelda. I played it as Link from Legend of Zelda, and he was awesome. He was a great fighter. He's probably the best fighter of the 3 exclusives from the Xbox and PlayStation. I don't remember Hayachi, but I don't remember Spawn too. But Link was fantastic. I remember him being a really great fighter, as one of the exclusive characters. F-Zero GX, and then I guess more titles along the way, like Luigi's Mansion, which is great. But the thing is, it's like $50 for the expansion pass, $50 per year. I know the other Xbox and Sony, they have their own things too, but it's still kind of bullshit. The fact that they have it, I hate it. There was a lot of stream issues too with the Nintendo of America. They fucked up with the audio. Audio's desynced. There's going to be a new From Software game. As soon as I saw that, I checked out. It's called the Dust Bloods, but I checked out instantly. I don't really care for that. Kirby Air Riders, Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm super excited for. And the Mario Kart World Bundle. And yeah, so there's a lot of issues with this. And there's also a lot of good things from this. So I don't recommend, and I think many people, I don't know if many people are recommending this, but don't buy this day one. And don't even fucking pre-order this. And just wait. I usually wait till the sales go down and stuff like that, because I don't buy day one. I just don't do that shit. I'm not like really hyped for that. Anything really. Unless it's like Baldur's Gate 3 level of hype. And even then it was like $50 on release day. And that was just absolutely fucking worth it. But there's a lot of problems. And Nintendo is really screwing the pooch on this when it comes to the pricing and all this. And it'll be interesting to see how customers will react to this. And if it will end up being like an actual like 4K, for instance, and all these other things for this game or for the Switch 2, who knows if they will actually come to fruition. It's great to see other third-party IPs coming to here too, but I wanted to see come a couple of more first party IPs, but at least it's more than fucking Xbox will ever fucking do. Microsoft. They had 0 exclusives for the Series X, which is pretty fucking sad nowadays. But Nintendo, I mean, at least they had like a bunch of them. I mean, they had a couple, you know, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm super excited for that. I think that's going to be great. But the Switch 2, the pricing is going to be insane. And I wish it came with another controller too, 2 controllers, and then give you this and this and that. But the fact that they're like upcharging so much shit is going to be insane. And the sales are going to go, who knows? We will see. But let me know what you think of the Switch 2. What, are you excited as I am, but also very hesitant at the same time? Let me know in the... And subscribe to my channel, Django Fett, if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.